I'm Kate Smurthwaite, and one thing you might not know about me is that when I was starting out in comedy, I did quite a lot of voiceover work, like a lot of people do, to supplement my income. Footnote, I am available for voiceover jobs. One of the things I was known for is doing what's called high-speed RP, which is where there's something in a radio advert that needs to be said for legal reasons, but they want to keep it as short as possible for financial reasons. They would get me in to record something that went, the value of your investment may go up as well as down, terms and conditions apply. Things like that. And I thought I would use that skill today to see if I can stick to the 3-minute YouTube attention span window and rattle through the things that were wrong with Boris Johnson's speech on Sunday. First of all, stay alert is basically meaningless. You're talking about virus particles, which you would need a very, very powerful microscope to even see. You cannot possibly stay alert for them by carrying around a giant microscope. Number 2, it didn't contain admit any failings or apologise for anything that he'd done or to any of the families of people who've been killed unnecessarily. Number 3, he's insisting that we are in some sort of effective lockdown, and we are not, and we have never been. Number 4, he talked about the COVID alert level being a number between 1 and 5, which was R, the reinfection rate, plus the number of infections, or the number of infections is well over 200,000. So any number that's that plus R is going to be bigger than 5. It doesn't work at all. Number 5, we have no idea what the reinfection rate or the R rate is because no one can get tested. It's just not possible. Number 6, if the reinfection rate is below 1, he's like, oh, we can ease things up, but that will just make the reinfection rate go up above 1, and then we'll have a bigger second peak, and it's ridiculous. Number 7, he told builders and manufacturers to go back to work, but the original lockdown didn't tell them to stop work, so a lot of them are already at work and are utterly confused by what on earth he's talking about. Number 8, and the detailed guidance says that people can meet in 2s if they're socially distanced, but the original lockdown guidance said people should not meet in groups of 3 or more, so presumably 2s were still allowed back then, although it wasn't very clear. Number 9, he tells people to go back to work with social distancing, and he says that on Sunday night, and they're supposed to go back to work on Monday morning, but they've got no idea whether their workplace has instituted any social distancing or not. Number 10, he also has told people to go back to work, but he hasn't told them what's going to happen to their kids, who will still be stuck at home at this point on their own. Number 11, he tells people to go to work, but he hasn't said anything about those with weakened immune systems and those who are not safe to go back to work because they might be compromised. Number 12, he hasn't suggested what job seekers, those between jobs, those who are travelling or taking a career break and are now without work and unlikely to find any more work at this stage, what they should do, whether they should go out and risk getting it trying to find work, whether they should stay in and not look for work. Number 13, he hasn't clarified what ongoing financial support is going to be available to people whose jobs are not happening. Number 14, there is still no clear guidance on how people should move between houses or people who are moving house, what they should do and when they should do it. Number 15, he's told people to go out as much as possible, but is there even room? In London, where I live, even with people only being allowed out for 1 piece of exercise a day, it is very difficult to maintain 2 metres distance between people. If people are going out all bloody day, it'll be basically impossible to do that and we'll all end up having to stay home. Number 16, what should people do if they get to work and measures are not in place? He hasn't said how we can deal with it. Number 17, he's totally focused on the economy. He said nothing about people being allowed to meet friends or partners. Hashtag Tory priorities. Number 18, he made no mention of funerals and memorial services and whether they can run, and that's really, really important to all those people who've lost family and loved ones. Number 19, there was no justification of why we should accept the extra risk people commuting to go and work on a building site, but not accept the extra risk, much, much smaller risk, of allowing people to visit a healthy partner who's been isolating alone and is terribly lonely. Number 20, he spoke about the possibility of opening bars and restaurants, but most of them cannot justify opening if they have to enforce social distancing and therefore can only open at a maximum of 20 to 30% capacity. Number 21, his guidance talks about at some point expanding the social bubble to include a second household, but doesn't explain what you would do if you lived in a flat share where there might be several people who want to expand in different directions and have different priorities about who they see. Number 22, he says that nannies and carers can go back to work, so rich people can sit on the sofa and have their kids looked after. But if you're a poor person and your mum or a friend comes around to look after your kid, apparently that's not allowed, that's not acceptable, you're still screwed. Number 23, he says rich people can drive out to the countryside. Of course, poor people who haven't got a car, they don't get anything, they're stuck in their flat, possibly no outside space, no, can't go anywhere, crowded parks, London, big cities. Number 24, the future guidance about how people could meet in larger groups literally says, so weddings can take place. Like, doesn't this just show you everything about the whole situation, that basically he's looked at his life, which as it turns out is quite boring and involves hanging around with his family and then going to work and then watching sport on TV and going back to hang around with his family. And he's like, how can we open different parts of that without realising that we are a much wider and much more diverse society than that, and we have much different priorities which are not always about the economy. Of course we want to get to work, but more importantly than that, we want to put our arms around someone we care about, and there is every reason to suspect that actually it can be made safe to do that if we shut down all the other stuff and stop opening frivolous things because we care more about our rich mates than we do about people's actual lives and well-being and mental health. And I'm past 4 minutes and I'm still cross. breathe.